We are not getting a divorce.
We are not getting a divorce.
We are not getting a divorce.
Wait for it.
SUPERDIVORCE.
SUPERDIVORCE, SUPERCAST. Hi, I'm Nick, and I play vocals in the band.
Bob here. I play guitar.
I'm Dale, and I sing the bass.
I'm Bender, and I bang on the drums.
I forgot to mention that I'm wearing a denim jacket.
Not a
right
denim
now.
vest, a denim jacket.
Full-blown denim jacket.
And it's not buttoned up all the way.
This jacket looks pretty ridiculous buttoned up. You can't pull it off buttoned up.
Probably not.
But for those out there who
Maybe
own
if
a
you're
denim
Batman,
vest,
you can.
if you own a denim vest, to me it's acceptable to button it up in some cases. So don't feel too shy to do that.
Happy goddamn 2016.
Yeah. We survived another year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking about how it's strange that it's 2016, but if you think about the age of the planet Earth, it's really not.
It's really more like 4,000,000,016.
Yeah.
Or probably a lot more than that. But
Yeah.
Are we in the mid 4 billions or?
I don't know.
Yeah.
To be honest
We know it's
with
4 billion.
Something.
Well, we know it's in that ballpark.
you. In the
but-
ballpark. Give or take a billion. That's when you're dealing with time on a grand scale.
Yeah.
When you can, move around a billion
Yeah.
years. It's like, well,
Maybe.
we know it's 4 or 5 billion.
And then you look at the society we live in and we can't even see fucking 10 years ahead.
Yeah.
So it's kind of sad, honestly.
We're a joke.
I've been in a slight existential funk lately, so I don't know if we want to delve into into our society being a joke. Because
But we're also great.
yeah, hey,
Yeah,
if you look at it as a small scale, Nick Offerman way, where you just appreciate what's around you, and there's all kinds of perspectives you can find in the world. So I'll bounce back.
Congratulations. Bouncing back.
We're looking forward to your full recovery
Everyone wish Bob the best.
from his existential crisis.
Yeah,
Because we wish you the best.
yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hey.
spoiler
Save
alert.
that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought about it for a second, and I let you make decisions on stuff like that because I don't know if it means I would just say it. I wouldn't hold it back because, as you guys mentioned before the podcast started, I don't have a filter anyway. So
Yeah.
That's true.
I would just. I do. When I become a drunk person, then you do realize that there is a filter, and then it scares you even more that what I say with my filter is actually filtered.
Yeah.
Because there's shit underneath the filter that's really, really scary.
Bob had a good New Year's.
Yeah, Bob was hanging out at my house.
I was hanging out.
He was hanging out over here, and he had a few adult beverages and really enjoyed himself.
Dale, what'd you do for New Year's?
I went over to a good friend of mine's house, and it was it's like my little circle of friends. We travel together and all that kind of good stuff, and we ended up just staying the night at her house and having a big old time. We played a drinking game called Boom. You ever heard of that game?
No.
I'd never heard of it until that night, but
Sounds
it's
good.
It's by far the most fun drinking game I've ever played. It's very competitive and fast paced, and I recommend it to anyone. It's
Nice.
a lot of fun.
Boom. We'll have to look into that.
Yeah,
But not
it's
now.
way too much to explain on on the podcast.
I can't Google
you know?
it because
right.
we're doing the podcast right now.
Yeah.
It's a no Google zone.
Yeah, that's what I like about it. Yeah.
I had real quick here, I had a drinking game idea. I don't know if I told you guys this, but I wanted to watch The World's End and try to drink a pint every time they go to a different bar and see if I could
You
get...
told me about that.
Because that's essentially what they're trying to do,
Yeah.
is have a pint at every bar along the stop. And
Yeah. But I don't know. That's pretty intense. 12 pints.
It's 12.
during an hour and a half movie.
Oh my
It's
God.
a pint,
So
a
true.
pint's more than a 12-ounce beer, too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's,
That's like when you get the draft beer.
and it's a big old guy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Who knows? I don't know.
Depends on what
I
type of
even-
beer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you're talking like pint of Guinness at every pub, I'd be like, nope.
maybe
God.
like a pint of Mick Ultra.
Yeah.
Might be able to make it through.
Rolling Rock,
Pint of Rolling
Yeah.
Rock, yeah. Probably maybe
Miller
do that.
Lite, perhaps.
I if I had the next day off work, I think I'd be down to try it.
Oh,
If I had the next couple days.
yeah.
When you don't drink for like 9 to 12 months. I don't think I'd been drunk since the previous New Year's. I couldn't remember the last time, and I was resistant at first to even have a drink, because I honestly didn't even feel like it.
Yeah.
And Ivy, my girlfriend, my partner in life, for those of you who wouldn't know that, I'm sure most people do.
The 4 people that listen to the podcast.
She encouraged me to have a sip of Makers, and I had a Makers or two, and then Nicholas's wife, Jessica, broke out a phrase that I'd never heard her say before. It was, I was thinking about having a little bit more, but I was also thinking about shutting it down, and she said, "Bob, I never say this, but don't be a pussy." And I think that's when kind of like shit just came unglued. 'Cause I was like, whatever. I got to prove myself in this situation. If Jessica or if Jessie, Jess, we know her by
Many
many
names.
names.
Yeah.
If she's gonna
Break out the P word.
not only lay down a gauntlet of manliness, but also bust out a word which she doesn't even like hearing other people say,
Yeah.
and then says it herself.
To you.
To me, directed specifically at me.
She
You
must
know,
have meant it. She know what that means.
she definitely did,
Yeah.
because for the rest of the evening, my drinking was encouraged by not only her, but Andrew came back and he was, yeah, dude, like, I think people just think I'm like a stick in the mud, and seeing me let loose gives them hope. Like, if this asshole can have fun, then certainly the rest of us can.
I'm sad that I didn't get to imbibe with you because it was.
I'm happy because I don't think you'd be as enthusiastic about my antics as you are.
Are you kidding? I don't remember.
I remember last New Year's Eve, you were there.
Yeah.
And you wanted to do a toast at midnight, and then it was like 12:20, and we still hadn't toasted because it was just, we're still holding our drinks out because Nick was still talking.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course we toasted to anal sex.
We did toast to anal sex.
I
in
was
addition
told
to
that was my idea, though.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well-
But I think the last time, maybe before that we had been really drunk in the same room was when we were lying on the kitchen floor laughing about something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, were you asleep in the back room?
Probably.
And I
People
think
were really pissed at us.
Yeah, because
I
we were
remember.
like cackling
Yeah.
in the deep hours of the night.
Nick's uncontrollable laugh got induced.
Yeah.
And once it starts,
It was
it's really easy to keep going. It's like that game you play when you're a kid when you have that single balloon and you're just trying to keep it off the floor, and it's really easy because it just flies ever so slowly through the room. Nick's, for those of you who've never heard this, because Nick is kind of an intellectual, smart person who doesn't act like a fool most of the time. When this laugh occurs, it sounds something like It's like a 3-note
Yeah, it's like
laugh.
Because
All real,
almost like my breath is being taken away, and it just comes out in this single projection.
Yeah.
It's like a sustained note, and
yeah.
it lasts for a while. Then it stops.
Sometimes there's only 2. There's either 2 or 3. I don't think there's ever a 4.
It doesn't happen very often,
No.
but when it does, I'm having a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's not to say I don't have fun other times, but
No,
it's,
well,
it's like
I didn't mean to make you sound like a
No,
stick in the mud
no.
because you're a fun guy, but we're talking just full blown, unadulterated,
yeah.
just joy.
When I'm laughing, how often does anyone laugh the hardest they've ever laughed?
Yeah,
You know,
it's-
it's like that. When that
Yeah.
happens,
And if you
Yeah.
think about that in an existential way, how many more times do you have left in your life to laugh like that? Maybe 5 to 10. Who knows?
it might not happen.
It
again.
might never happen again.
Yeah, I might get taken out tomorrow, and
Yeah.
that would be it.
That's right. So you got to cherish it.
Yeah. So that's what's going on with our band right now.
Yeah,
Right?
pretty much.
Drunk on
Did
New
you have
Year's.
any New Year's stories? Anything
I
great?
didn't do anything.
No.
Nope.
So
You didn't say
About 2
inappropriate
drinks
things to
and-
people.
I went to a house party with a lot of my friends that I've been friends with for a couple of years. You guys have met some of them.
Yeah, they're
Went
super
there,
lame.
just had pretty much. They are all now. But I just had one beer there just to be part of the crowd, and then went up to meet up with my girlfriend at her best friend's house, and it was just like her best friend's wife, and their parents, and that was it. So I just had like champagne at midnight, and that was it for me. And then I went home by myself.
I did buy a bottle of Shandong at Kroger so that when I poured it, I could play "Drop It Like It's Hot," and I did that. So that was.
I don't know if it's because I'm white trash or not, but I still think Martini and Rossi's the champagne. I drank. You had a big bottle of that. I don't know whose it was, but I was passing that back and forth to people into 5 to 6 in the morning.
Yeah, that
territory.
got finished off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
the
don't
apple
feel
pie
bad.
moonshine was gone.
Yeah.
Which I drank most of.
My Jameson was consumed.
I didn't have
that.
any Jameson. I had my Maker's Mark. I had apple pie moonshine, champagne. I had a beer.
The Glenlivet.
Yeah. I had a glass of Glenlivet that your wife gave me.
That's polished off.
Yeah. Do you remember talking to your wife on the phone that night at all? And any phrases that were uttered to you?
I don't recall exactly.
I heard from the other room her asking you where you were and, kind of getting the gist that you were dropping Jordan off and stuff like that. And I think you had asked her what she was up to, and she said, Bob just got done fingering my hole.
Yeah, okay, I remember that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that you mention it.
Mm-hmm.
And she was talking about a hole in her sock,
Yeah.
of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which Ivy had fingered previously, and then I asked for permission to finger it as well, and received permission.
Sounds hot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
you probably had to go to the bathroom and.
I'm embarrassed.
That one.
So any real band news that we have, I guess, is going to be that we got one song back,
Oh god.
directly
Yeah,
cut.
yeah, it sounded good. Can we go into the way we think it's?
I don't think
Should we
that's-
just
I
have
don't
a
think
discussion
anyone-
right now?
I don't think anyone listening is going to give a shit
No.
about what we have to
I
say
just-
about a first mix.
I just
new
thought the
song.
vocals were a little too loud, but I thought everything else was good. But I think the vocals sounded really good on that one. They didn't bother me.
But you said too loud.
A little bit too loud, and
Yeah, I
possibly
agree.
the beginning, or
Yeah.
it's just it's hard to find a
But
balance
were the
because
vocals too loud, or were the instruments too quiet?
Maybe
Who
a
knows?
little muffled.
Yeah, I thought they had
This is,
were a
see,
little
it's
muffled
boring.
on that.
This is boring.
Yeah.
This is not stimulating.
Yeah, I spent a little bit of today looking into the mastering process, and I looked at the couple places that that Kirby sent to us, and it wasn't that they didn't impress me, it was just that when you send something off to somewhere that's far away, I feel like you have less control than if you stick with a local person who's going to do it, because then you can kind of communicate with them and stuff. But my friend Patrick Lynch, who I've known from jamming with him and he was in a band called The Last Troubadour for a long time. He's no longer in it, but he's just an awesome guitar player. He messaged me. He said he could do mastering and stuff. So I think it wouldn't be bad to keep it, in the
friend zone,
in the Lebanon, Cincinnati area,
tri-state area.
Yeah, we don't have to spend hundreds of dollars on mastering. I mean, if you listen to befores and afters, the mastering definitely does. I mean, it makes more of a difference when your original recording is kind of shitty.
Yeah.
But if you have a really good recording, the mastering warms everything up and just kind of brings out the details and stuff. It really is an interesting process that I know fucking nothing about.
That's mastering. We have to get our album mastered when we get the songs back. So it's probably something else that you guys don't give a shit about, I would imagine. But you will care. It'll be a better it'll be a better product.
If you were listening to the radio and you heard an unmastered song, you would probably be like, man, this is shit.
Yeah.
And then the next song would be mastered and you would be impressed.
And you would say, this is a better song than the last one I heard. And you wouldn't be able to know exactly why, but you know. Let's see. How about we search out an artist and then talk about them in this artist searchlight segment. Someday we'll have we'll have a button we can press and it'll do something like that.
Douche Nation. Ira and the douche, is that it?
Crazy Ira and the douche.
I love China Joe over there in the corner. He's just miserable, just doing these bullshit sound effects.
Be so horny.
I didn't say that. That was a what does she say? A farcical sound effect. Like, did you say fartsicle? A frozen fart that you can eat.
Oh, it's cold. Nick has no idea.
Parks and Rec quotes for the rest of the podcast.
Parks and Rec.
Just randomly fart at everyone. Real quick though, speaking of TV, I was watching Key and Peele last night. Have you ever seen the sketch of Key and Peele where it's like everyone doesn't have a name, you're identified by a particular farting noise?
Oh my god.
And so
Do you make the fart noise by actually farting?
Yeah,
or?
you actually fart, and you have to change the pitch to identify. Everyone has their own unique fart.
Oh my god.
And so they're at a party, and he's got his wife with him, and he goes up to the other couple that comes up, and he's like, "Oh, I want you to meet my wife. These are..." And I was dead.
Yeah,
I was dead
pretty
last
good.
night listening to that.
Have to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
So, artist searchlight. Who's going to pick first? I'm kind of in the middle here.
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
And then we pass it to Dale, right?
Okay.
We go that way. That would be clockwise.
Mm-hmm.
We'll always go clockwise.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, it's like Clockwork Orange.
Don't care.
It's like a clockwise orange.
Mm-hmm.
A clockwise orange.
Yeah, it's like an orange moving clockwise. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, clockwise.
I like mandarin oranges. What the hell was that?
That was Warrior.
Did he fart?
No, he's coughing.
Oh,
He's choking on something.
Smelly dog farts.
Okay, my artist that I'm searching out here is
Hopefully something that I actually know this time.
Hold on.
It won't be.
It won't be.
He knows the song. I think he's just trying to think of the artist.
Toad
That's
the Wet
one.
Sprocket.
No. No. I'm gonna go with Joe Cocker.
Should we all pick and then go?
Yeah.
I forgot. Okay,
Yeah.
so Dale, go ahead and pick.
Dale picks.
And then Bender will have to do yours.
Right.
Okay.
And then Bender will pick mine, I'll pick Nick's.
Right.
And then I'll dole out another apology.
You know what? Let's talk about Stevie Ray Vaughan. Let's just kick it.
Man, I wish
kick
I
it
would
with
have
it.
had that one.
You can talk about him if you want.
Yeah, you can't. I don't know anything about Stevie Ray Vaughan.
No, no. Mine'll just be like ranting about how much I think he sucks.
Yeah.
He's a polarizing figure. Good guitar player.
It's like John Cena.
Yeah. What do you got?
Bob gets to talk about Kesha.
Kesha. Okay. Alright. And Nick is going to have to regale us all the stories he knows about Kenny Loggins.
Alright. Sounds good.
Trapped in the danger zone.
I'm excited.
Of course he is.
Don't just get Danger Zone, you get,
yeah, we'll wait.
No, you can't.
Wait.
Alright, Dale, Joe Cocker.
Again, I know nothing about Joe.
Oh, no.
I don't know.
It's probably I know that name.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If you had to guess, go ahead and tell us.
Yeah, we'll do the John Williams thing again.
Yeah.
I don't know as much about Joe Cocker as I do about John Williams.
I don't know anything about Joe Cocker.
But
Okay,
I
so go
know
alone.
what Joe Cocker's famous for.
See,
Yeah.
I do not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, yeah, I do.
He died recently.
I don't. Oh, he did?
Yeah, he died
Oh.
within the last
See,
couple
now you're
years.
giving him...
Shit,
Yeah.
my bad.
I would've
God
said
damn it.
that.
That-
You're usurping his whole
I
segment.
would have said something like he was going on tour again or something stupid, but
well, he's
Yeah.
still... they got
So tell us about his
hologram.
funeral. Did you hear anything about
That or
Yeah,
just when he was alive or his last tour or maybe even his first tour.
Yeah. Well, I know at his funeral they had a really nice ceremony, you know, kind of going over his life and his influence on music, and he was the reason the term cock rock was invented because of Joe Cocker.
Joe Cocker.
Bands like Nickelback and Breaking
man.
Benjamin and Godsmack and bands like that, Five Finger, they
This is great.
pulled the most influence from Joe Cocker's music.
Yeah.
He invented cock rock, so to speak. And they had a nice thing at his funeral about that.
Didn't
But-
Chad Kroeger deliver the eulogy?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
While singing and playing acoustic guitar.
And of course he had he did a theme song for a TV show, right? Right?
He did.
I'm sure he did.
I forget what TV show it was the theme
What,
song.
you know,
for.
though, I think.
Well, not cock rock related, but he wrote all of the New York sitcom TV show theme songs. Like he wrote Seinfeld's song, he wrote the Friends song, and How I Met Your Mother I don't think has like a song, but all the background noises, he makes those too. Yeah. Those are the three shows that I know he was included in. I could
He didn't
be
necessarily
missing it.
perform the songs, but he did write them all.
Yes. Yeah.
How would you say Joe Cocker influenced you personally as a musician?
Me personally, got me super interested in looking into Warlock guitars.
Mm-hmm.
I know you know what they are. For those of you who don't know what they are, they're the most badass looking guitars. It's like a tribal tattoo, but in a guitar. Like that's the best way to describe.
That is the best way.
And Joe Cocker was a big fan of those.
Yeah, he made those.
Oh, he made them.
He didn't just play them; he made them.
Made a big warlock guitar.
He would make the prototype, and then they were mass produced in factories. He would keep the prototypes in his personal collection, but
So he could get them back and play as cock rock.
absolutely.
Yeah, so that's
right.
definitely the biggest influence, because I actually play a Warlock bass.
Nice.
An 8-string Warlock bass.
How would you rate Joe Cocker out of 10? What would you give him? From 0 all the way up to 10. And I'll allow 0s and 10s.
Yeah.
No, he's better than a 0, but he's not a 10. I'll give him a. He's a 5. I give him a 5 just because I don't like cock rock.
He was the original, but he inspired so many
original
generations.
cock
Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
he gets 5 points because every genre of music's got to start somewhere, and he influenced other people, and I'll give him some credit for that.
The Elvis of cock rock.
Yeah.
All right. So Joe Cocker did not invent cock rock.
Oh,
Oh, we're gonna just talk about
gonna
like
wait.
career?
I thought we wait until.
Okay, we can wait
Yeah.
till we all go
Yeah.
around.
Okay. All right.
Because I don't think Bender's going to know much about Stevie Ray
I don't know
Vaughan
anything
either.
about Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Well, yes,
I
you
know he
do.
plays
Yeah, you do.
guitar.
He does play guitar.
Yeah.
What else?
He's bald.
Okay. And, of course, he's known for his shaved
known
head.
for
Oh
that
no,
chrome
that's a
dome.
different guy, but that's okay.
The
Because when
Mr.
he
Clean
had,
Cut, as it were.
At his concerts, the light was always bouncing off his.
Yeah,
Mr.
they had
Clean.
to anti-shine on his head so it wouldn't flash out into the audience and blind people.
Yeah.
There's a documented case of somebody being permanently blind in one eye after seeing a Stevie Ray Vaughan concert, which is why they have to anti-shine his head.
They took him to court over that, and he was deemed the Lex Luthor of guitar playing because there was speculation that it was done on purpose because it turned out the guy who got blinded was Stevie Ray Vaughan's ex-wife's cousin, who Stevie Ray had a beef with.
It was ironic because he got blinded while Stevie Ray Vaughan was playing his hit single "Blinded by the Light."
That was Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah.
Well, he wrote it.
He wrote it. I mean, other bands have performed it and made it famous, but he wrote it, and eventually, after a while, began playing it at his concerts.
Right.
Much like, much like Trent Reznor wrote "Hurt" for Johnny Cash, and then also performed it himself, and it sucked.
Yeah.
That's
Johnny
kinda,
Cash really did make that song.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So what else? Is he still touring these days?
Yeah, he's still touring.
Yeah. What are ticket prices like for a Stevie Ray Vaughan show?
He's highly regarded in the pantheon of guitar gods. So
That's true.
So they're above modest price.
Who's he touring with these days?
Who's he touring with these days?
Yeah.
A Jimi Hendrix hologram.
Oh, cool.
And I think Slipknot's opening for him though.
Oh, very cool.
It's an interesting.
Isn't
Diverse
Prince
crowd.
closing the show? Prince.
No,
closing?
he's playing. Prince is like supporting guitar.
Oh, okay. So he actually comes out and performs with Stevie Ray.
Yeah.
I heard he was performing with Slipknot, actually. Prince
Maybe
is playing
Prince just
with
comes
Slipknot.
out as a utility musician who just kind of plays with everybody. On
Yeah, and if they
all-time
need a
quarterback,
really,
so to
really
speak.
high falsetto, then Prince is in the background. Or if they need somebody to hump something,
Yeah.
Prince is in the background.
But I've also heard that all acts on the tour are required to cover When Doves Cry. And they all have to pay a really, really high royalty fee
So
to
far,
Prince.
fans are enjoying Slipknot's cover of When Doves Cry.
Mm-hmm.
So
That would
what
actually be
is-
sweet.
I would be
If I'm being real.
what does Stevie Ray Vaughan have coming up in 2016?
2016.
Yeah, what kind of year is this going to be like for Stevie Ray Vaughan?
He's in the process of recording a new album.
Yeah, what's it called?
What's it
Have
called?
they released a name yet?
No. Well, I think I saw something, but they were speculating.
Yeah.
But well, you know, he's like from Texas.
Yeah.
So they're expecting the title after his long career. Something they're anticipating this to be his last album. So they're expecting something cheesy, like, you know, Roll On Tumbleweed or something like that.
Sounds like it'll be a modern classic from Stevie Ray Vaughan.
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, brand new album from Stevie Ray in 2016.
What do you rate Stevie Ray out of 10?
Out of 10.
Well, I don't listen to him much, but like I said, I know he's very well regarded by by some guitar players. So I'd put him at like a 7.
Okay, that's
for
pretty
his
good.
contribution to music.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't remember mine.
You have Kesha.
Kesha?
Because I listened to her today.
I feel bad for Kesha. I know a little bit about her. I know that, I mean, this is real. Yeah. She's in a dispute with her former manager who had, like, sexually assaulted her several times, and it's a really dark case where he had some kind of legal leverage on her to where she can't even perform her own songs anymore. Sort of like what happened to John Fogerty from CCR, where he went through, you know, his band basically selling the rights to the songs that he wrote to their label, and then when he quits, it's like, well, you can quit, but you can't fucking perform your own songs anymore. So the Kesha story is actually kind of sad, honestly.
That's why you haven't heard anything from her in like 5 years or whatever.
Because she's still kind of gridlocked. And I can't believe there hasn't been like a 60 Minutes special about it. Or maybe there has and I just haven't seen it. But I think it's really sad what happened to her. I don't particularly enjoy her music or anything, but I don't think that she wrote her own songs or anything. She was just kind of one of those cherry-picked pop stars that they wrote songs for and had her sing, and I'm sure she probably had some run-ins with drugs and things. I know she's been to rehab and stuff like that, so.
It's just silly club music.
Yeah, there's nothing, I mean, there's a place for that style of music, for sure. If you're in the club scene and you hear a nice Kesha song come on, they're nice and bubbly, you know.
I'm mad about Kesha's music, for real. I'm not mad.
She's attractive enough to be a pop star, you know. So I wish Kesha the best. I hope she resolves her legal disputes and gets restitution for all the bad shit that her manager did to her, because pretty sure it was like sexual assault / like, I don't know if it's on Bill Cosby level or not, but
what do you rate Kesha?
In the lexicon of pop music, she's certainly no Madonna, or, you know, she's not even on the level of like a Britney or a Christina, but she's in there. She's in the mix. She's not a Katy Perry either. I'd put her around a 6, maybe.
I think she'd have more of a career, obviously. She'd be maybe
right.
higher.
If she had the last 5 years of
to her.
Yeah.
Maybe she reached Mandy Moore level.
Yeah. I just hope it turns
Simpson level.
I hope it turns into like a feel-good story where she bounces back and maybe releases like a soulful, introspective album that's not quite as poppy and is more maybe on the darker side, like Adele or something. Because I think she can sing.
Yeah.
She's just, you know. They can auto-tune her enough to where it'll come across, and if she, you know, has some good tunes, she can make it back to where she was. So
I was listening to her today and heard, like, I was actually listening to an album instead of just like picking and choosing songs. I heard a song that I really liked called "Thinking of You."
Yeah. So Kesha, our thoughts are with you. But we're not actually going to do anything to help. At least I'm saying it.
And you will give her a number grade as well.
She's 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10.
I was going to go 6.5, but that isn't that one song that is that Kesha?
Oh, it's
Mountain Timber.
no, that's Pitbull with featuring Kesha.
That song fucking sucks.
I know, I hate that song too, but that's Pitbull.
was involved in
She
it.
would have had a 6'5" had that song not existed.
Wow.
So
That was like the last thing she did.
yeah, I feel like it was.
So I guess all
Kenny Loggins.
Kenny Loggins.
Mm-hmm.
What? Well, of course, the first thing that comes to everyone's mind, I believe, is the Top Gun song,
Yeah.
Yeah.
"The Danger Zone."
Second for me would be Caddyshack.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
That's
say.
a really good song.
Yeah.
How's that one go?
I'm alright.
Don't nobody worry about me.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Yeah,
That's when rock was pop.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't like you have your rock stations and your pop stations. The rock guys would put out pop songs with guitars and stuff.
That
so
is a wonderful intro to that movie.
yeah, absolutely.
I love that song. I love how that movie starts. Perfect.
Yeah,
So I'm not going to
it's
sit
just a
here
classic.
and I'm not going to bash Kenny Loggins
No.
too much. He
Kenny
also
was
has
good.
he has a great beard.
Does he?
Yeah, or he did at least. I don't know what he looks like now.
Yeah.
But I know that in his prime he had a very full, thick
Mm-hmm.
facial beard there.
Nice.
Very much like, I would say it's on Nick Offerman level.
Wow. Like nice and thick.
Yeah,
and just
very
kinda
thick.
robust.
Burly.
Yeah, burly's a good
Yeah.
adjective for
Yeah. And very neat, too.
that. Mm-hmm.
So, a good beard. And
Where's Kenny Loggins from? Are you?
Yeah, Kenny Loggins is actually from the Redwood Forest.
Okay.
That's how he came to acquire such a big burly beard.
Loggins.
He was a logger.
Logger.
Loggins.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, he was also a fan of J.R.R. Tolkien's work.
yeah,
So they just took Logger and Baggins
Mhm.
and mixed those together. And
Yeah.
Loggins.
hmm and the
Big fan of Bilbo.
They made up his last name.
Hey, that's what
For him
musicians used to
specific-
do.
Yeah, just for
Specifically,
Yeah.
his
His
parents
parents,
are
yeah.
not Loggins.
No.
they were
No.
loggers. He was originally Kenny Logger.
His dad was Timothy Logger, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
Yeah.
And
His
he
mother,
came to his
Cecilia.
parents at age, I think, 17, and he said, I got a gift for music, but I also love Middle Earth
Yeah.
a lot, and I think it's time for me to make my own identity in
Well,
this
he
world.
wrote the Danger Zone song about Bilbo's journeys, and he was reading The Hobbit actually when
Okay.
he had the melody come to him,
Mhm.
and he started humming it as they were. He was imagining them on an adventure, you
Yeah.
know, and
Maybe approaching the mountain where the dragon Smaug was.
yeah,
Smaug, how they pronounce it in the movie.
Yeah. So it was actually written about the Middle Earth lore.
Because when you
originally,
think
and
about
then-
it, that was the original Danger Zone.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
he was talking to Tom Cruise, and
Mhm.
Tom Cruise, of course, a big fan of the Middle Earth series,
Yeah.
and
Scientology is based a lot on the Middle Earth saga.
he said,
I
"Tom,
believe.
you've got to hear this song
Right.
that I wrote. You're gonna love it. It's all about
Mhm.
Bilbo Baggins and his journeys." And Tom Cruise said, "Man, this reminds me of my new movie. Do you mind if we use it?"
Right, in
It's called
Top
Top
Gun.
Gun.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of going into my own danger zone in this movie.
Right.
So there are paths similar here between my character, Maverick, and
He's
Bilbo
very much
Baggins.
like Bilbo.
Very much like Bilbo.
He's around the same height.
The and it's all about the reluctant journey.
Yeah.
You know, Tom Skerritt shows up to Tom Cruise at the beginning of the film and says, "Would you like to fly this airplane?" And he says, "No, I don't. I'm not.
I don't
I'm
want
not
to do
into
that."
I don't want to
Yeah.
do that." And then, of course, he ends up
He's talked into joining the mission.
because all the other pilots show up at his house.
Yes.
You've got Val Kilmer.
And they serenade him.
Yeah.
And they eat all his food, too.
Yeah.
They just kind of take the place over, and it's just kind of a wild scene.
Well, he's supposed to wake himself up the next day after this party and realize he slept in. But luckily, he goes out his front door, and Tom Skerritt has actually left him a fighter jet on his lawn.
On his lawn, yeah.
And he just gets in it and catches up with him.
Right. He has a long enough stretch of land in front of his house to where he can take off.
Yeah.
And just kind of
It's a pivotal scene in cinema history.
Really
so.
good.
If you haven't seen Top Gun, check it out. If not for Tom Cruise, then definitely for the music of Kenny Loggins.
Yes.
And
same goes for Caddyshack.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, what else? There was one other thing I was going to say about Kenny Loggins concerning the Danger Zone song. And this is how some people just get messages totally twisted over time. I played a show with a band way back in 2004, 2005, and they covered a Third Eye Blind song called Motorcycle Drive-By. And I enjoyed that, and I remember talking to them after the show, and their singer said we were going to cover Danger Zone before we picked this Third Eye Blind song. But they were a Christian band, and they said we found out that the Danger Zone song is actually about having sex and going into the danger zone, and they didn't think that it was a very good message.
Is the danger zone like edging on orgasming?
I don't think so. I think it's just talking about sex in general.
Oh, okay.
Highway to the danger zone. Lots of dangerous things can happen when you're having sex. Transmission of diseases. You get someone pregnant. You can get pregnant yourself if you're a lady.
Right.
So all these dangers abound.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to cover it because of that. Now, of course, it's not what it's about.
No.
It's about Bilbo Baggins. And I told them that.
Off on an adventure.
And they said, well, now we feel like idiots. And they actually went up.
Because J.R.R. Tolkien was a Christian.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah, very good friends with C.S. Lewis. Not Louis C.K., though. It was a little later. But they actually tried to get back on stage and play Danger Zone, and the promoter had to say, no, you've already had your time.
Yeah.
And they were very upset. So that's my thing, and I'm going to say that Kenny Loggins gets an 8.5 out of 10.
I would agree with that. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good artist.
Yeah.
Should we tell Dale about Joe Cocker?
Yeah. Go ahead and give him the skinny.
Well, maybe I don't know if I know more than you or you know more than me, but I do know that Joe Cocker sings the Wonder Years theme, which is a cover of a Beatles tune. A little help from my friends.
Yeah, I'm sure you're familiar with it.
I am.
So he's got that really raspy,
Yeah.
Which
is, I guess,
Cookie
kind of
Monster singing
cock
voice.
rock. If you put him in a band today, maybe.
Yeah, you could construe it. I always thought of Joe Cocker as like Bob Seger with way more cigarettes.
Yeah,
like he.
But
not nearly as accomplished as Bob Seger. I don't think he had as lucrative a career, but.
And I heard some really early Seger recently, and I liked it a lot. He has much more treble in his voice, and he goes up higher.
Yeah,
and I'm like, this is really cool because he hasn't crossed that line.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying later Bob Seger's bad, but it was just interesting to hear him. In the beginning,
because he was in bands in the 60s until he got famous. When he was, I mean, when he got famous, he was already in his early 30s, I think. So
So, and of course, Bender, I'm sad to tell you that Stevie Ray
Vaughan will not be releasing an album in 2016 because he's been dead for probably close to 30 years. He's been dead since the mid.
Died in a plane crash.
He died in the early 90s.
Yeah, 91 or 92. I want to say
it was Was it a plane crash? Or
it might have been a helicopter. Something that flew. Yeah. He was in the air, and
I know Randy Rhoads died in a helicopter accident.
I want to say it's a plane crash. Then,
okay,
I was thinking plane
I
crash.
flip-flopped those two. So, But yeah, Stevie Ray Vaughan, SRV, dead.
Yeah,
So it's
Not
early
releasing
90s.
a new album
that is
this coming year.
that's real double trouble.
Yeah.
As it were.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
what else did you say about him?
That he's not bald either.
He's not bald.
I was
Yeah.
thinking
He
of
had long
Steve
hair.
Vai.
full head of hair?
He actually looks like Esteban, or looked like Esteban. If you
Yeah,
know
he would
him.
often wear like a hat.
Yeah, with like a flat
With a
brim,
flat brim
kind of
hat.
thing, and
And his Fender Stratocaster guitar was all beat up and like had holes in it and stuff. He was just kind of he had like this Hendrix-y sound, but he sang like sort of southern rock, like really bland tunes.
What's his big song?
Talk about a
sure,
great
I know it.
guitarist.
Pride and Joy.
Okay.
yeah, Pride and Joy.
She's my
Yeah.
pride and joy.
Yeah.
She's my sweet little baby. I'm her little rubber boy.
I knew I knew him. It just didn't.
And then you got to throw in some. You get that.
I like his guitar tone. I think he's a talent. He was a talented guitarist, but I just don't like his songs.
No,
I
me
can't
neither.
bring myself to like them.
I used to feel the same way about Dire Straits.
Yeah, you used to hate them. You told
Yeah,
me
I
because
couldn't
Sultans of
stand-
Swing.
yeah.
You thought was really
I thought
annoying.
it sucked.
See, I'm the
thought it was
opposite.
the
I
worst
fucking
song.
love Dire Straits. Mark Knopfler is like one of the best guitarists.
I can get it now, but
Yeah.
I remember particularly in high school driving around. If Sultans of Swing came on, I would just get pissed off. And I got into like several pages long debate on a forum one time on the old Weezer boards, actually, like on the random part of it. And I just posted something about how Sultans of Swing was like the shittiest song ever written. Some guy got really butthurt. And
Yeah. Well, Mark Knopfler is a very rich man, so
Yeah.
I don't think Stevie Ray Vaughan would be rich if he were alive. But
I'm sure he probably was rich.
Dale,
when
what do
he
you think
passed.
about Stevie Ray? You
Yeah,
like
I'm getting
him?
real butthurt over here.
Yeah, I
I'm
was
real
thinking-
quiet over in this corner.
I was
No, I mean,
thinking
I
you
really
probably
do like
liked
Stevie
him.
Ray Vaughan, though, because,
Yeah.
like, that was, like, the record. Like, my dad showed me Stevie Ray Vaughan when I was, like, 9 years old.
Yeah.
And my dad loves Stevie Ray Vaughan, so when he showed it to me, it was, like, I was just, like, mesmerized by, like, just what his guitar sounded like, because his guitar playing really is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's, like,
It
he
is.
plays some really, really tricky stuff, and,
He's
I've
got
just-
that glassy sound, that
Yeah.
glassy like Fender tone.
Yeah,
too,
and he plays
you
just
just
like a
don't
lot
hear
of
a lot.
like open pull off like riffs that are like most people would play them sloppily, and
Yes.
he plays them very clean, and it's
Yeah.
it's cool. But anyway,
That's why he gets compared to Hendrix a lot because of the cleanliness.
he
of
does
his
have that
changes
that
and stuff.
vibe to him. But I'm a fan of Stevie Ray Vaughan. I know you guys don't like him, but he's definitely one of the reasons why I wanted to start playing guitar is because my dad showed me his record when I was like 9 or 10 years old or something like that. So I'm a fan. I'm a fan. But I can see there's a few songs that are literally the exact same song but with different lyrics.
Yeah.
Like I can't think of like the two, but if you listen to them side by side, they're the same song.
Yeah.
With different lyrics. I think the vocal patterns are the same too. So,
That might be my beef, is that
Yeah.
it just doesn't give me anything new.
Yeah.
I just think that's why, because I like my classic rock, kind of a little bit psychedelic, I think, and he's just very straightforward. And
oh yeah, for sure.
He's a blues rock icon.
Yes.
And for some reason, blues has just never. The only version of the blues that I've ever liked comes from Jim Morrison. I really love when the Doors would do a blues song, especially in their later years when Jim was like fucking drunk out of his mind every single day and just like an absolute psycho. L.A. Woman, great bluesy Doors album. So to each his own. A lot of people hate the Doors.
I
too.
love the Doors. I love everything the Doors have done.
If you like sort of pissed off Jim Morrison doing the blues, I'll let you hear Rollins Band song from the late 80s called Gun and Mouth Blues.
Okay.
I like it already.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. He goes nuts on it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How about TT Boys?
TT Boys.
Let's see what's trending
Pull
on
out
Facebook.
your TTs and show us your TTs.
Here's something. Tommy Lee. You guys hear about Tommy Lee?
Yeah, I heard about
No, I
those.
haven't heard about Tommy Lee.
Motley Crue drummer gets stuck above crowd on roller coaster during concert.
Yeah. He's got that gimmick where his drum set goes on a roller coaster, like around a track during the set. Sort of like how Travis Barker had the spinning drums.
Well,
set,
no,
and,
Tommy
like, the one
Lee.
that floats
Tommy
over
Lee
the
had
crowd.
the swing set drums
Yeah.
first. Then
Yeah.
Travis
Travis
Barker
kinda-
just had one that kind of like comes up in an angle and spins in a circle.
Yeah,
That's
He
like
did
a
have
full
he
roller
did have one
coaster.
that went upside down too
Did he?
on one tour, but
This
is a roller coaster.
Oh,
A literal
It's
track.
like, wow.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And it was
And dur-
supposed to be their last concert ever.
Their
Ever,
last
yeah.
show
Really?
Of all time.
of all
Yeah.
time, and the coaster got stuck.
I hope
Like,
it's
you can't-
still their last show.
That's a
ever.
message from the rock gods.
Yeah.
Just saying no more drum sets on the roller coaster.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
Or just no more Motley Crue.
Yeah.
What does that add to the show, really?
Exactly. Like,
The roller
it's a
coaster
spectacle.
thing?
Yeah.
It's a
spectacle.
reason.
Yeah.
It's a reason to charge people $300 for a lawn.
Yeah.
seat.
That's what's wrong with. That's why I think arena rock is just so. It's another polarizing genre where you can get into some of the songs and stuff and really enjoy them, and then sometimes you're just like, oh god, what is this? You know?
Maybe for your last show, you should have just stayed down on the stage.
I don't
and,
know. But if it would have been successful, we wouldn't even be talking about it. It got stuck. If it didn't get stuck, like every other night, because we would have heard about it before, like Tommy Lee's
There
drum
wouldn't have
move.
been an article.
Yeah.
Motley Crue's last show, Tommy Lee roller coaster
Yeah.
goes off without a hitch.
Yeah. Yeah,
Everything's
so
fine on
you
the
can't
Tommy
really
Lee roller
predict-
coaster.
You can't predict that, but I mean, it's just kind of shitty.
They should build a coaster like at Kings Island where you can play drums.
The Tommy Lee
Yeah.
coaster where you play drums. Just
So
like
As
him.
long as you don't end up with hepatitis.
I was just going to say the same thing. You end up with an STD when you get off the ride.
Man.
Would you go on that if there was like the Motley Crue experience and you like sit and play drums and there are like Motley Crue songs blaring?
I would go on it.
It might be a cool ride.
It
It
probably
would be
just-
a pretty
yeah.
good
You, like,
time.
went-
I think it's cool to hate Motley Crue, but I was just thinking about it and I was like, whoa, hey, can't stop my heart from
Yeah.
this. And I was like, oh, that's a good song.
That was like Live Wire.
Worst.
I think Live Wire
I
is
love
a
the
good song.
guitar tone in that song.
That
It's
song
so
is
heavy.
just about what Nikki Sixx just like continuously OD
Yeah.
and having to be defibrillated back to life. That is
Shout
what
at the
that song
Devil's
is
good.
about.
Shout at the Devil is a good song. Yeah.
But here's what I'm thinking for the Motley Crue experience ride. It's indoors,
Yeah.
and you're playing drums as you go along, and maybe there's a score. You're trying to like play almost.
Oh,
your
so
own-
it's like Rock Band.
yeah, it's kind of like Rock Band, but
Okay.
as you go through as well, it's indoors, and you go through like some iconic sets that they've had over the years, and then also maybe like through Sunset Strip at night,
Yeah.
and they've got like the stars above you
Yeah.
and like fucking strippers. And
At a certain point, an animatronic Pamela Anderson head comes out from below your seat and gives you a blowjob.
if you get like a streak of however
Yeah.
many, yeah.
He gives
Yeah.
you the blowjob until you ruin the streak.
And then she
Like, nope,
stops.
I'm done.
If you screw up while she's going down on you, she'll just retract back into the seat and blue ball your ass.
And
Yeah.
also flick you in the nuts on her way. Just a little insult to injury there.
Yeah.
Okay. Kim Kardashian
Oh God.
Can we skip it?
back in the news. TV personality wears sweatshirt and braids in Instagram post from New Year's Eve.
No one cares.
Yeah, that's all I have to say. It's just
None of us care. You shouldn't. If you do, fucking find a hobby.
How about Don Lemon?
I don't know
about
who
Don
that is.
Lemon?
I don't know who that is.
CNN anchor makes...
Jack Lemon's son.
Hopefully. And also the founder of the Lemon Party.
Oh, God.
If you guys are
He's the
having
Earl
some
of
trouble
Lemongrass.
figuring out who you're going to vote for in 2016, and you're let down by the Republicans and Democrats, maybe check out the Lemon Party.
Yeah, just go ahead and type Lemon Party into your Google search engine and just take a look.
Yeah. But they have some controversial opinions, so make sure you're not at work.
Right. Don't do it at work.
Yeah.
But do it at home.
Yeah.
Don't do it around your kids if you have kids.
You might find a new party.
Yeah.
You can really get on board with. Anyway, Don Lemon, son of Jack Lemmon, the anchor for CNN, he makes sexual remarks to Kathy Griffin during New Year's Eve coverage.
Sounds like me on New Year's. Maybe he'd had a few too many. Who knows? I don't.
Is it even possible to make sexual comments about Kathy?
To Kathy Griffin. It
She
doesn't say if they were
bad, though.
It doesn't say if they were positive or negative.
Yeah. What?
I know she works hard to maintain a nice physique these days.
Yeah, she
I know
looks
she-
pretty, what is she, like in her 50s? 50?
What if his sexual remark was just, I wouldn't have sex with you?
Well, then that would
Nobody,
Kathy Griffin's
nobody wants to
butthurt
bang
about
you, Kathy.
That's definitely more insulting.
Nobody wants to do ya.
Yeah.
Can we change our album title to Nobody Wants to Do Ya?
No, it's actually No One Wants to Do
Oh,
Ya.
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No
one wants to do
ya.
ya.
Sorry.
But yeah, Kathy Griffin is a very self-aware comedian. She's aware of her relevance or lack thereof. I don't think she's going to be too butthurt about some kind of sexual remark that was said. I think that's probably people who heard whatever remark it was and were like, wait, he just womanized Kathy Griffin or just I don't know.
Here's
I'd
what
have
I'm really
to hear
happy
what he
about.
said.
I'm really happy about this. Lil Wayne and Birdman,
Oh man.
rappers,
Squash their beef.
appear to end their feud in a photo at New Year's Eve party.
Good
That's
deal.
cool. Starting off on a nice
Good.
new note there.
Yeah.
Turning the page.
Yeah, good deal.
I'm a fan of turning the page. I'm not a fan of their music. So
Yeah,
No.
it's terrible.
Good job for
I
Lil
don't-
Wayne and Birdman.
I don't
thought
wanna get off-
Birdman was... I thought that was like Lil Wayne's dad.
no, I think he's
They're
just like
related?
a mentor. Are they? I don't know. I
I don't
thought
know.
that he was just like a.
I don't like this new guy who's like serving the purpose that Lil Wayne used to serve, which is just being featured in every popular rap song ever. He's auto-tuned, but he sing raps. It's like
Future? Is that what
Baby,
you're talking
don't you come my way?
I think that's.
It's like-
I don't know. I don't care.
He's
enough
in
about
every
it, but
fucking song, and he's awful.
I want to say it's. I know Future is one of those like auto-tuned rapper
Yeah.
guys that
Could be him.
sounds
We don't
awful.
We don't know the current rap scene very well,
No.
with good reason.
Yeah.
Talk to me about 90s rap.
Yeah.
Bill Cosby,
Uh-oh.
I did see this.
Uh-oh.
comedian, posts on social media following arrest on felony sexual assault charge.
Yeah. I actually know about this one because I was curious and I clicked on that, and he said something to the effect of to all my friends and fans, thank you. And that was it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole post.
Oh, I saw that too. Because
Mhm.
I saw somebody tweet back at him, at Bill Cosby, if I tell you to go fuck yourself, will you drug yourself first?
Bravo to that guy. That's awesome.
After that post, he
Yeah.
tweeted at him.
Pretty. That's clever.
That's a hard one. It seems to be like people on both sides of that Cosby shit are being assholes to each other, and you just gotta let the truth come out. I think the guy drugged and raped women? Yes, I do. I think you wouldn't have 30 people all saying the same thing. But do I actually know for a fact? No, I don't. So
Yeah, I'm
it'll
with
be
you. I'm with you there.
interesting to see. Hopefully, justice is served, and whoever's telling the truth. But you have to side with the victims.
I've heard, not necessarily the same story, but I forget which comedian he worked with Bill Cosby a number of years ago, like 10 or 15 years ago, and he was sitting down to eat dinner, and he made people sit and watch him eat. Like, that was like a regular thing for him. Like, he would eat by himself, and he would just make people sit at the table, and not necessarily like them join him to eat. They would just be there and watch him eat. Like,
That's
he would
fucking weird.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just why? Why?
Hugh Hefner said that Bill Cosby used to go to the Playboy Mansion all the time and bring Quaaludes with him, and he called them leg spreaders.
Oh. There you go.
Bill Cosby is guilty.
Very tasteful.
Yeah, I think the guy's guilty, but.
Well, why don't we move from Bill Cosby over to stuff we don't know shit about?
David Crosby.
Bing Crosby.
Bing Crosby.
This is Super Divorce Don't Know Shit, and we're gonna revisit. If you were with us several weeks ago, we talked about the maple syrup industry, and I thought we could revisit the maple syrup industry and see what was going on. And big news. Big news in the maple syrup industry. Sugar makers boil 41% sap.
Wow. I never thought I would hear that headline. Because normally it's 48% sap. They must have lowered their standards since I can't remember the gentleman's name.
Well, he's gone off.
He's left, and it seems as if the industry is going downhill, going to hell in a handbasket, as it were.
Well, I think they were trying to, as we talked about, synthesize that last batch, and obviously they're not getting it.
No.
So, I mean,
I need to figure something out because I need my maple syrup.
This was actually featured in the new Star Wars movie, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
There was the little Easter egg for all of the maple fans and the people in the maple syrup industry.
Right.
There was a maple syrup shout out in the movie, and it was kind of, the scene. Well, really, a large plot in the movie. If we can talk about spoilers here.
Oh yeah, we're past. If you haven't seen the movie yet, go fuck yourself. We're gonna talk spoilers.
Spoilers now.
Spoilers. Star Wars spoilers.
But see, it's sort of allegorical of the situation with maple syrup right now. They're wondering where this guy went. They're trying to find him, just like
they're trying to find Luke Skywalker in Star Wars.
And J.J. Abrams, in a secret interview, said that he hoped that last scene would somehow make it to the last master of the maple syrup industry.
Yes.
And it would touch him in a way that sort of kindled that fire, rekindled it, and maybe...
So he can find an apprentice.
Yeah. Because the lightsaber was a metaphor for when they do find him, they will hand him a bottle of his rare edition maple syrup. And
they'll just hold it out to him.
Yeah. With the cap taken off so that the pungent aroma can waft over his way.
Yeah, maybe waft it towards him.
Yeah.
Sort of hold the open bottle in one hand and then with the other one do the wafting motion.
Right.
So that it takes him by surprise, maybe.
Yeah. Don't send any of that B grade shit.
No. This 41% crap.
No.
That will not work.
You need 100% maple syrup.
I hope he doesn't hear about this because this is the kind of stuff that's going to make him stay gone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of, it's like when Joe DiMaggio retired from baseball and they're begging him to come back and he just sees all the things going wrong and just stays retired, you know.
Dale, do you still, even though maple syrup's in such short supply, do you still put a little maple syrup on your bass strings before we play, or have you stopped doing that?
Just no. I had to cut down a little bit, but yeah, I basically won't play unless I put a little bit on there. It gives it that nice slide.
Sweet sound.
Yeah. It gives it a real thick sound and helps me navigate my way up and down the neck.
And for those of you who are wondering, yes, it does attract ants to our practice space, but I'll tell you right now, it's worth every little guy that we have to escort out of the building.
Small price to pay.
Yeah.
And I know this is famous with a certain sect of guitar and bass players. Mm-hmm. I didn't hear about it until I met you guys, but you know, I've also heard that some guitarists and bass players, they like it because it'll kind of coat your fingers so that they don't get cut when you're playing, because playing can be stressful on the tips of your fingers.
Well, also it'll fill in the cracks in your, because you can develop calluses when you play guitar a lot, and the maple syrup will just kind of seep into those calluses and smooth them over, so that you don't get the painful cracking and bleeding.
Yeah.
What Dale and I have found, the best combination for us is he will use maple syrup on his bass strings, and I will actually use a stick of unsalted butter on mine. And when you get that butter maple syrup combo, it's really, there's nothing smoother than a guitar that's slathered in a nice Land O'Lakes unsalted organic butter.
And Vader, do you still keep a single pancake inside of each one of your drums?
You switched to waffles though recently, didn't you?
I mean, yeah, because the grooves in the waffles, you know, help to, they capture a lot of the sound, and it kind of it muffles down, especially in the snare drum when you're hitting it, it rings afterwards, you know. But putting those waffles inside, it works much like, it works very much like when you're in the studio and they've got the foam on the walls, you know. It's a dampener. Yeah. And it brings that ring at the end of each hit down, so you get a nice full, hearty slap on the snare.
And I'm sure it's great after shows or practice, you're tired, you can just pop the
pop the top, eat a waffle.
Top, and there you go. It's like a big can of waffle.
Dale and I will have our butter and syrup, and we will actually just kind of tilt our guitars and let the whatever the butter and the syrup drip off of the end of our guitar.
It's been heated up by your hands.
By our hands.
Because
and
they're on fire when they play.
The playing of the snare will actually encourage the fluffiness of the waffle.
And the heat from the drumming also keeps them warm throughout the set.
Right.
Yeah. But, you know, just in case, I do have a microwave attachment on my snare, which is something that most drummers don't have. I mean, I'm very much in the minority with that, but my snare doubles as a microwave.
You got that from Brookstone, right?
I did get that from Brookstone.
Some people are against that. They like the analog waffle maker snares, but Bender, you know, at some point you have to realize, you know, not everything can be analog.
And technology's here, we're not going back.
Right,
so.
You have to take convenience over, you know, the old-timey ways of doing things sometimes, because it's, do you want to shit in an outhouse, or do you want, you know, a flushable toilet?
You got these guys who say, well, it's not what John Bonham did. It's like, well...
Yeah.
Well, I like John Bonham, but who gives a fuck anymore?
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to have a snare drum. I can have my Brookstone snare wave, and make waffles,
and omelets, or you know, English muffins. I mean,
Bonham didn't have that option.
No,
he might have opted for it had he stuck around long enough to experience what it would have been like to play drums.
It's his fault for dying.
Yeah.
Well, he died because, you know, of the inconvenience of, because he was a pancake guy.
Yeah,
but if he ever felt as if, you know, hey, I want to have waffles today, he can't do it.
But, you know, see, the thing is, who knows where music would be today if he had a Brookstone snare wave, because he died of malnourishment.
Yeah,
I mean, we all know that.
because he didn't have those.
He didn't have the
He was sick
waffles
of
readily
pancakes.
available.
Yeah,
Sick of pancakes. I've heard that he tried to make an omelet, but he consumed undercooked eggs
yeah.
because he didn't have that heating option, and that is what led to his sickness and eventual
And he
death.
also had a deficiency of maple syrup because Jimmy Page did not want to use it on his guitar.
Yeah.
Right.
He did not want to go for it. He
Well,
only
Alice-
And just think, and why wouldn't you? When back then maple syrup was so prevalent, you know,
Yeah,
there was such
there
great
was so much
reserves
of
of
it.
maple syrup. And
He
now
didn't
we're
want to
running
be
dry.
like the guitar players that were going that way because he
Yeah.
thought it was this new fad.
Well, he was hanging out with Aleister Crowley.
Yeah.
And Aleister gave him a bottle of agave nectar. And that was really the first time...
the downfall.
Yeah, the first time a guitarist deviated from the maple syrup and butter combination and went agave nectar on his. And it
Robert
just kinda,
Plant wasn't happy about it either.
No.
That's really
Because
why.
who's out there
stayed
sprinkling
away.
agave nectar on their fucking pancakes?
Nobody.
I mean,
No.
Nobody.
No. If you watch that reunion that Zeppelin did in 2007, you can tell how unhappy Robert Plant is the whole time because he's smelling the agave nectar and it's just reminding him of what happened to their band and how
it's all his fault.
How John Bonham would still be here because he would have had he would have at least had maple syrup.
Yeah.
And he would have continued, going on in his life with a sufficient amount of maple syrup in his system. And maybe he would have hung on long enough for the snare wave to come around.
Yeah.
And then he wouldn't have consumed undercooked eggs.
Yes. And I think Robert Plant actually resents Jimmy Page for all these happenings, so that's why you won't see a full-blown Led Zeppelin reunion, because they ask Plant about it, and he just shakes his head and says, well, we already did that, and look what happened. My best friend is dead.
Well, there was a quote where Jimmy Page called him up, and he said, I need Robert Plant. And Plant said, look, I'll come and plant my foot right up your ass.
Yeah.
And that was the last time they talked.
Yeah.
And,
he's very fond of using his last name in pun ways.
Yeah. So.
And maple syrup comes from a plant.
Yeah.
Agave nectar, who knows where that godforsaken shit comes from.
Well, I think it's all GMO.
GMO, yeah. Genetically modified pig rib bones that are ground down and mixed with, sodium acetate and other chemicals. And
well, the bottom line is here, this 41% sap is, in my opinion,
if you eat 41% sap, you are a sap.
Yeah.
They're turning you into a sap.
This article should have said, sugar makers boil 41% crap.
Yeah.
Because that's all this is. It's not maple syrup.
No.
It's not going to cut it. And this is not how you bring your master back from a long journey.
No.
So I don't want to see where this goes because it looks awful to me.
Yeah.
The projected future here of maple syrup industry. It's not looking good.
Well, I will say, even if the maple syrup industry goes down the tubes, the last syrup I purchased was a grade A dark amber 100% maple syrup by Private Selection, and it was very robust and had a nice. It was sweet, but it had kind of what's another word for robust?
Full?
It was full-bodied. It was like the Guinness of a maple syrup.
Yeah.
It wasn't like your Miller Lite, where
it was
it's
like
a light, syrupy children's. It was
like
a
maple
complex,
stout.
complex. A lot of flavors going on, sophisticated. So if you're ever in the market, it's about, I think, $5 to $6, at Kroger. So
Okay.
pick yourself up some 100% grade A. Don't go for that B shit. Grade A maple syrup.
And make sure it's 100%
Yes.
sap, not 41%.
No 41s allowed in this vicinity.
And that's what we don't know shit about this week. So why don't we move to something we do know a little bit of shit about, and that's movies, in particular the new Star Wars film that we can now talk about.
Yeah.
Everyone's here, everyone's seen it,
Right.
and if you're listening, spoilers.
Tons of them.
Yes.
Spoilers and speculation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, since Bender, you are I would say you're the sort of, I don't know, eminent Star Wars authority in this band.
Well, thank you.
Why don't you go first and just talk about the movie for a few minutes and tell everyone what you thought.
The first time I saw it, because I've seen it twice. Like, have you seen it twice, Dale?
No,
Okay.
just once.
The rest
I've
of the
seen
time,
it
right?
twice.
Okay. Well, first time I saw it, as some of you out there probably know, I'm a huge fan of the old expanded universe. That is all of the books and all of the comics and even some of the video games that came out between 1995 and 2015. And so, concerning that, I almost didn't like when Han died in the new movie, because he stays alive in the old expanded universe and goes on for a good amount of time having adventures with his kids, his 3 children instead of 1 child. But once everything, the shock of that happening kind of settled, you know, I think that it is the crowning achievement of the Star Wars trilogy, the Star Wars saga, and it's a wonderful addition, and I think it's paving the way for amazing things to come over the next, who even knows how long, however the long Disney
100
wants.
years.
Disney's gonna milk it for all it's worth, and I don't even give a fuck. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. I knew Han was going down. Hindsight's 20/20, of course, but in every scene that he survived, I would breathe a sigh of relief and just kind of be like, he's hanging on.
Mm-hmm.
But when he ran out onto that bridge to confront Kylo, I knew that was the end.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to have your main villain, you know, just simply brought back home, you know, and turned back to the light in the first movie. So I had an inkling that it was either going to be Han or Chewie, but I had a strong feeling it was going to be Han that was going to go down.
The expanded universe fan in me wanted it to be Chewie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just because that's what happened.
I don't think it would have, you know, had the same gravity to the scene. The first time I saw it, I wished there would have been more dialogue between the two characters, but then when I saw it again, I really enjoyed the way, you know, on Harrison Ford's face, you can really see, you know, the hopefulness that he's just, you know, and the way they kind of lit Kylo at first and then darkened him as he you know, decided to do what he did. And then Harrison Ford gets that last, you know, he just gently caresses his son's face.
I think it was
before he dies.
awesome because it's, you know, you want more dialogue, but he played so much of it in the face, and it was perfect because he even says to Leia before he leaves, like, well, how am I supposed to get him back if Luke can't get him back?
You can tell
you're his father, like, you can, you know.
He's not very sure of himself that he's going to be able to pull this off.
Yeah.
But he knows as a father he at least has to try.
And I liked the you know, mirroring the expanded universe. It was nice to see that both he and Leia, well, and really him especially, kind of went into sort of like a depressive state once Kylo, once Ben becomes Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Because after Chewie dies, originally, Han does just like go off. He just leaves Leia, and for like, there's like a galactic war going on, and for like 3 books, Han is just off doing his own thing. Like palling around with other smugglers, he's palling around with bounty hunters and stuff like that, because he's like drunk for a whole book, doesn't even show up, and then he just leaves, and eventually comes back and everything. But, so I liked that, you kind of are coming into the story after all this is happening, but I liked that he's off smuggling again with Chewie and coping with things.
I had a suspicion that it was going to happen around the time that it did, when they're kind of planning the explosives.
Yeah.
And there was this one shot of him where I was just watching him do his thing, and it hit me like, oh shit, this has been his movie.
Yes.
Because I thought about it, it just sort of rewinds real quick, and I was like, he has done a lot in this one, and I think this might be his send-off.
He's 73 years old. He wanted Han to die in Return of the Jedi. Harrison Ford is not, he's not necessarily the man he once was. Not in a bad way. He's just, he's kind of a crotchety old son of a bitch now.
But he played Han perfectly.
Oh my God, it was amazing.
Nailed that part. And you could tell it was JJ that kind of drew that performance out of him, because he has a love and a reverence for the franchise that I don't think George Lucas has anymore, and possibly never did.
I was just saying to my buddy yesterday that I will always be thankful to George Lucas for creating what he created, but I'm not a fan of George Lucas. Like he's a dick. Like,
did you hear what he said recently in the controversial?
They made a retro movie.
Yeah.
I sold my kids to white slavers.
Yeah, which he apologized
AKA
for. I don't
Disney.
really give a shit if he said that or not.
Yeah, that didn't trigger me.
What I thought was interesting was he criticized the new movie for being too much like the originals, and basically said it's like they sacrificed story for fan service, and that what he tried to do in the prequels, and he said even in the original trilogy, was every movie he tried to make different than the last one. And he felt like he was trying to move filmmaking ahead and do new things that hadn't been done before. And he didn't feel like they did that in this new one. He said they took steps back, pretty much, and were just retreading old ground.
But I think
blue screening every single fucking scene and
just
have
maybe it's not always the right thing to do.
Maybe maybe there's like some merit to that, because they kind of rehashed Episode 4. Like,
they're calling it a soft reboot.
A soft reboot, but I think that was the smartest thing they could have done at this point, because everybody was so upset with the prequels that, like, now you've got it. To me, it was JJ saying, like, this is what we can do. This is what we can do with the story. Like, here's your example. Now, next movie, we're gonna ramp it up, and we're gonna take this saga in a whole new direction.
You have to earn the trust back.
Yeah.
And that's what, I mean, if people remember back to 2009 when Star Trek came out, that's what he was doing then too. It was like that was his warm-up movie for Star Wars, because he's like, okay, Star Trek, the Next Generation had 4 movies. No one really liked them except Star Trek fans, because they kept in all the technobabble and stuff, but they tried to make Patrick Stewart an action star, and it just didn't work. And he made Star Trek more exciting. Some people were butthurt that they didn't get, the classic, slow kind of space exploration with all the, moral kind of conundrums that come into play. But he made a fun, exciting Star Trek movie that appealed to the masses, and that's what Star Wars is.
Yeah.
Star Wars was never a slow exploration movie. They never sit down and talk about how light speed works or how a lightsaber is able to stop at a certain length. It's a space fantasy, not a science fiction movie. So he kept the spirit of, this is about the characters and the locations. It's not about, how this shit works. It's about getting characters that we like and want to see succeed, showing them get down on their luck and fight back against, against seemingly insurmountable odds. That's what it's about. It's like a Rocky movie set in space. You want to see your hero get beat down a little bit and then come back and show flaws that we see in everyday life. It's hard to relate to the characters in the prequels because they're so stoic and distant and just kind of...
Dale, you just went back and watched all of them, right?
Yeah.
So how do you, with all that fresh in your mind, how do you feel about George Lucas's last attempts with his franchise compared to the newest movie?
Right. The prequels, Bob, you agree, I hated
all of them?
No. I hated episode 1 and 2. But I love episode 3. I think it's a great movie, and I wish they would have approached it the way that this new one was approached, like how it was filmed. I think that is just way more interesting to me because it feels like you're kind of just watching a cartoon.
Yeah.
There's some of those movies just kind of, which makes it feel like more childlike. So I like the aspect of how they filmed the new one. I think it was perfect in my mind. I thought it was awesome.
And George Lucas saying that they didn't break new ground for filmmaking is just full of shit.
Yeah.
Because this was the most pleasurable movie to watch I think I've ever seen. Just from a standpoint of pure enjoyable sequences and the way things look.
And
it's just
there's
so
a lot
crisp
of CG
and
used.
Yeah,
but it's not distracting.
No.
You don't notice it.
It doesn't dominate the frame. It doesn't.
Intellectually, when you look back at the movie, a lot of stuff had to have been done on computers.
Right.
But when
There's
you're watching
no
it,
way.
You are accepting what you're seeing in front of you, even though it's huge scenes. Like, when you're looking out at Jakku and you see the fucking crashed Star Destroyer.
Right.
Yeah.
And
they didn't build that.
No, but if someone just showed a person on the street a picture, say you replace the Star Destroyer with like a downed plane or something, you'd be like, well, that's real.
Yeah.
But all of that there, they made look just incredible.
Real sets, on-site, real locations, real grass they're walking around in, real interior shots, gorgeous cinematography, real X-Wings, real Millennium Falcon model, it's not... real characters for the most part. Even the CG characters, they were motion capture.
Yeah.
They're not completely just CG rendered, weightless, ridiculous characters.
Did you know the guy, the scrapper that Rey takes his
He
stuff
looked
to?
mostly practical, and then his face, I think, was CG.
That's Simon Pegg.
That's Simon Pegg?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I learned that's Simon Pegg, and the stormtrooper that Rey convinces to take the straps off
Daniel
her.
Craig.
Daniel
Yeah.
Craig. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Also,
hey, who doesn't want to be in a Star Wars movie?
Yeah,
Come
there's
on.
so many people in it that you just
Warwick Davis is in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher's daughter is in when they're talking about the Starkiller base. She's in the room. I don't know which one she is, but she's in there. There's a lot
It's
of
just a goddamn
big name actors in there.
Fun adventure movie. You don't have to... It's not a turn your brain off, because you really do get emotionally invested with the characters, which is... That's the main problem with the prequels. We could have accepted the CG and the fake-looking sets and the blue screens and everything if we gave a shit about what was happening. We didn't. It was pure spectacle. Jam as much shit on the screen as you can possibly get in there. Lasers firing. when you see the droid army and the clone army fighting, it's like, cool, they're fighting. You're not emotionally invested for either side. Droids are machines, and the clones are just this army that they found that was, created as a plot device. They can't think for themselves. It's not like watching actual people die. Like, even this movie sets the tone in the beginning when that stormtrooper dies and he reaches out and touches Finn's face and leaves a blood streak.
Yeah.
You realize that these are human beings that are dying, on both sides.
Can we talk
so
about
much
that,
is
though?
at stake.
Talk about what?
Why are they bleeding?
Why are the
It's a
stormtroopers
laser.
bleeding?
They shouldn't be bleeding.
Well,
Maybe
It's
you
just
got-
like lightsabers.
there could have been an explosion. There were explosions happening.
either
So
way,
it could have
if you
been
call,
shrapnel.
if
Could
you
have
call
been,
that a plot
but-
hole, it's a plot hole worth making because of the weight of that.
Yeah.
Of just seeing that the streak of blood and
Until
establishing
I
that
just
Finn's
thought-
character gives
I
into
just-
his conscience.
I just thought
and-
that it was an interesting thing to add because the only other one with blood is
it's the New
episode
Hope.
4.
Yeah.
But
They-
ever since that movie, they established, lightsabers cauterize.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna say. It was an explosion. It was
Yeah.
shrapnel.
But what about when Kylo Ren gets shot with the bowcaster? He bleeds too.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
bowcaster shoots slightly different projectiles than a normal laser
Yeah.
weapon, I think, though. But who knows? Because it kind of has an explosiveness to
I mean,
it when it hits the ground.
That's
and stuff.
my,
right.
I agree. That's my interpretation. But I
Seeing
just thought
somebody
it was
bleed
interesting. It was
establishes.
interesting to add to it. Like, it
Yeah.
was a cool story
Yeah.
device to have that blood on Finn's
Yeah.
mask,
It's not one of those plot holes where you look, plot hole.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
like
not pissed about
you
it.
you see that and you don't care if it's a plot hole because it's so impactful and it really sets the tone for what Finn's motivation is to escape from the First Order. It's because he's got a conscience. He doesn't want to go around murdering people for unarmed civilians that didn't do anything just because some psycho tells him to. And when you find out later that he was in sanitation and that was like his first battle, it makes sense that he wasn't conditioned to, be a killer. He was probably just hanging around, walking around and, doing his sanitation duties and didn't realize how evil the First Order was until he saw it firsthand. And then you realize, it's like Oscar Schindler. You're in the belly of the beast and you have to find a way to, do some good and get out of there. So
Now, you might have seen, I had a little argument going with Andrew, our friend, on our Divorce Club page on Facebook.
I don't know if I saw that. Was he talking shit about Kylo Ren being a little bitch or something?
Well, I was basically saying that Kylo Ren would just take Vader to task.
Oh, without question. Because
And
not only is he physically fit, he's got the mind control thing on his side with the Force. The dude stops a laser blast and has a conversation while he's walking around and has enough mindfulness of the Force to keep that laser blast just chilling there. He may be one of the strongest Force users we've ever seen.
And
he just doesn't have the
because-
proper training to utilize it.
Just because he idolizes Vader doesn't mean that Vader is stronger than he
No.
is. Vader might be able to sort of guide him a little bit, give him some direction, but if we're talking about them getting in a fight where one person's trying to kill the other...
Well, Vader,
Now, Vader... Well, I was going to contribute
he's
to that
missing
conversation.
3 of his limbs, too. I mean, if Anakin had, gotten off Mustafar with all of his limbs and wasn't burned to needing that Vader suit, yes, the dude is the most powerful Sith ever. But he gets diminished.
Once Anakin becomes Vader...
Yeah.
And
he's sort of handicapped in that suit.
Yeah, because you can do this in kayfabe here.
Yeah.
You can say maybe the reason that he was so shitty with the lightsaber battles in the original trilogy is because
he's a fucking robot.
Yeah, and you never see him perform the shit that he did with a lightsaber like he did when he was Anakin.
No.
Once the suit goes on, he sucks pretty much.
But it's
there's
the
proof
suit
that-
and the voice and his use of the Force are what gets him his his villain status. That's how he intimidates people. But really, he's just an old man with no leg and missing arms and stuff. I mean, he's a handicapped dude.
What were you gonna say? You
were talking with I was reading the conversation with Andrew, and you were mentioning Kylo Ren would take Vader in a lightsaber fight, and he would, because in the Marvel comics and in many of the other comics, every time Vader gets into a lightsaber duel, he relies mostly on saber throwing, and once he's in that suit, he's not flipping around anymore.
No.
Yeah.
And
He's got a brisk walk
he's able
at best.
he's able to best anyone that he fights. But I mean, just in the current Vader Down comic, he gets shot down and out of his TIE fighter and surrounded by literally a battalion of rebels, so 100 men or whatever. And then how he gets out of it is he uses the Force to activate all their thermal detonators, and then they all explode. And then he does deflect a blaster bolt from a tank with his lightsaber, but he's not running through, dodging bullets, blocking, cutting people down.
He's like the slow-moving tank.
He has to rely on the Force to be able to. There's another.
I wouldn't get in close on him, but
right.
if you have the agility and stuff, you could easily. He's slow-moving. He's plodding. That is what built him up as kind of that really iconic villain. Is he's never really in a hurry anywhere. But if you put him in a fight with a young Force user or his younger self, even young Obi-Wan, young Luke just fucking annihilates him in Jedi. He just can't deal with it because he's so impaired by his handicap of not having those limbs and stuff.
I know this is a little bit
but
different.
He's goddamn strong in the Force still, though.
Different worlds here, but I just thought of putting the original Michael Myers in a fight with Rob Zombie's Michael Myers. And
Rob Zombie's Michael Myers would fuck him up.
Yeah. Because his Rob Zombie's was, again, more athletic, I feel, just like a physically imposing brute.
Yeah.
And the original one is relying on that kind of plodding, slow-moving, just supernatural...
The fear factor.
Yeah, the fear factor. Whereas Kylo Ren, compared to Vader, is just he's a wild man.
He's a young, strong, headstrong, wild, out of control Force user who...
That scene where he throws the tantrum and then the guy gives him more bad news and he pulls him across the floor into a Force choke was so awesome.
Yeah.
I remember people, the first time we saw it, a couple people in the theater gasped when that happened because they thought it was so cool.
We're talking Force powers where he could probably walk out on the surface of a planet and pull down a Star Destroyer or something crazy. He's got Vader's blood in him, and he has all of his limbs. So, do the math. The dude's fucking strong in the Force, man.
By the way, I just want to throw out there real quick that I don't think Rob Zombie's Halloween movies were better than the original.
They're good.
But
they're good.
I have to go back and I have to watch Revenge of the Sith, and then I'm going to watch the original trilogy and then go back out and see Force Awakens again. And a lot of people are saying, it's better than Jedi at least. So, I don't know. I haven't been able to compare it, and it's hard to take movies that were made that long ago and compare them to the technical marvel that is, Star Wars The Force Awakens, because it really is. I can't stress how fucking beautiful this movie is. It's just, I couldn't believe it when I was watching it. And the first and the trailer really gave it to me. The TIE fighters that are lit up by the sunset, X-wings across the water, the green grass of the forest planet.
The music
snow.
of John Williams.
The music of, man, the score. It's the total package of what going to a movie. The best things about going to a movie are all present in this film, and it's just, it's not going to win an Oscar for Best Picture, but man, it's definitely extremely memorable, and when it ends, you just want to see it again and again, and you want to see the next one. You want to see what Luke's going to do. Mark Hamill looks badass. He looks fit.
So does everyone think? What's Rey's lineage?
Yeah, I was about to.
I don't think Rey's going to turn out to be related to Luke. I think Luke definitely stuck with the Jedi code and didn't impregnate anyone. But I think there's going to be something to where, they're connected via the Force somehow. But I don't think she's a direct relative of Luke.
No.
The more interesting theory is, I want to know who the fuck Snoke is.
Yeah.
Darth Plagueis.
Everybody's saying he's Plagueis, and I can see the reasons why, but I know Abrams wants to distance himself from the prequels, and that's the only time you ever hear about Plagueis is in Revenge of the Sith.
But there's stuff in the new movie that's featured in the prequels, so...
Yeah.
Right.
Did you
so
know,
you could say,
I just learned today when they're entering Maz's castle, all of the flags that are hanging above them are all flags from the pod race in episode 1. Except for, there's a Mythosaur flag, which is the bounty hunter logo, or Boba Fett's logo, and there's a flag for the 501st Legion, which is like a fan group dressed in Star Wars costumes and stuff.
Yeah.
But most of the flags are pod racer flags.
That's cool. Well, if Snoke is Plagueis and he is somehow, for those of you who don't remember Revenge of the Sith or maybe didn't like it enough to remember it, he was the master of the Emperor Palpatine, who, the story is that he learned how to basically cheat death and influence the midi-chlorians to create life and stop death from happening and extend his own life. So some people think that Emperor Palpatine or Darth Sidious, whatever you want to call him, kind of took out his mentor, killed him, but his mentor somehow figured out a way to resurrect himself, and that's why he's got a damaged face and he looks very frail and, not necessarily in the best shape because he died and he's resurrected. Sort of like like the diminished Sauron in the Lord of the Rings, where he's trying to come back to full strength, but he needs certain things to happen to regain his physical form and stuff. So that would be cool. If he was
theory
Plagueis.
Because
it's a good theory.
Yeah, it's a good.
It's
theory.
not a fucking Jar Jar Binks was a Force user theory. It actually makes sense.
Did you hear their people? They're supporting the theory with. I guess the music that plays the first time that you see Snoke. The first time you see Snoke, the music playing in the background is the same exact music playing when Emperor Palpatine
tells
talks
the story
about
of Darth Plagueis
in Episode 3.
It's identical, literally. I mean,
it's just like
during the opera house scene with the bubbles and
I just think it would be a really cool. It'd be a really cool thing to tie in because Plagueis is fairly prevalent in the old expanded universe, but he's canon still because of being mentioned in the third film.
If he wouldn't have been mentioned offhand,
then he'd be gone.
He'd be gone.
But so I think it would be really cool to take that and bring it into. It's part of the reason Rey can't be related to Luke at all, because if you do that, you would be killing your career if you didn't introduce Mara Jade as his love interest, and she's no longer canon.
Yeah.
She's his love interest from the past EU.
She was like the most beloved EU character, basically.
Oh, she's definitely top 3.
So I mean, so many. That's another magical thing about this movie is you see it, all your Star Wars itches get scratched, and then you're left with a feeling of wanting more. It doesn't fucking wrap up with a wedding. It doesn't wrap up with a fucking nice explosion. Everybody has a gold medal around their neck. It leaves so many questions unanswered, and that's what a good trilogy is going to do.
One thing I'm hoping that they do, since they're going to be releasing sort of companion movies in between the actual numbered entries.
Yes.
I hope that those movies feel different enough to where you don't sort of trick yourself into thinking that you're watching the next Star Wars movie in the main
They
series,
have to be on a way smaller scale, sort
Yeah.
of like The Hobbit to Lord of the Rings, but even smaller.
Yeah.
I think that they will be. I mean, you look at the plot for Rogue One, and it's about an X-Wing team trying to steal the plans for the second Death Star.
Which retcons Dark Forces. If you ever go back and play Star Wars Dark Forces for PC, it's basically like Star Wars Doom. The very first level you play as a guy named Kyle Katarn, who's essentially a Force-sensitive Han Solo. He's like a mercenary who discovers later that he has Force powers. He originally started out with the Empire, but found out that they killed his family, and he switches sides to the rebels. But he's still a merc. He's not necessarily fighting for the cause. It's more to get paid. But the very first mission in Star Wars Dark Forces is Kyle Katarn busts into an Imperial base and steals the Death Star plans by himself. So,
well, he won't be by himself in Rogue One.
I don't think he'll be present in Rogue One. But
all I really care about is there better be Bothans in Rogue One.
And a lot of them need to bite the dust.
A lot of them need to die.
Well,
Alan Tudyk.
Yeah.
Getting another shot at a space opera. So,
well, unfortunately, we're getting pretty close to normal stopping time here.
That's
so
fine.
Well, we knew we were gonna Star Wars it up.
After our usual little segments there.
You guys are just lucky Knights of the Old Republic's not canon anymore, because I could talk about that for fucking 5 hours straight.
I want to play that game that I sent you, Bender, the link to.
Oh, yeah. I saw that. I just read an article while we were doing the cast, though, that was 10 things we wish were canon from the old EU, and Thrawn was one of them.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to tell myself that Knights of the Old Republic is still canon, because it takes place 1,000 years before the movies.
Hey, there's Dawn of the Jedi stuff that takes place tens of thousands of years before the movies, and it's just why not?
Yeah.
Why can't it be canon?
Why couldn't it? Mm-hmm. It doesn't affect anything in the movies other
That'd be
than
an interesting question to ask.
I want to see
Abrams.
Well,
send him a couple copies of Knights of the Old Republic and see what he thinks.
What I'm excited
we should start a goddamn petition. Darth Nihilus. Keep him in there.
What I'm excited for, and what I'm anticipating almost more than the movies, is I want to see
a new EU will pop up.
Yeah, I want to, because right now everything out that is canon has your main characters in it. It's got your main 3 from the original Star Wars, it's got your main characters from Clone Wars, and it's got your main characters from Rebels. Everything, all the comic books, all the novels that are out right now, they all have to do, they take place in this very finite amount of time. I mean, it's Clone Wars through Force Awakens. So it's a couple, 100 years or something like that. But most of your stuff is still taking place between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
And I want to see them go, because the old expanded universe goes 200 years after Return of the Jedi and tens of thousands of years before Episode 1.
Right.
And I'm excited to see what happens with all that. That's what I want. I want Disney to start planning that shit.
Yeah. And or giving people the go-ahead to do it. on their own.
Right,
you know?
right, or just
Sort of how
approve-
Lucas would just
yeah.
read, not even read it, but
approve it.
approve extended universe stories. Like, yeah, fuck it, that's canon.
Yeah.
You know.
Maybe Timothy Zahn will write another Thrawn novel and make it canon, and then he could be in a movie.
There you go.
All right, folks. Well, thanks for joining us on this first podcast of 2016. And
sorry
you
for
guys
the
are
lack of segments, but we really had to get that Star Wars out of our system.
I think at least a few people who listen are big Star Wars people.
Yeah.
So hopefully you enjoyed the Star Wars discussion. And
we could have a whole goddamn podcast dedicated to just Star Wars.
I'm sure. All right. Well, everyone, have a fun and safe rest of your week, whenever you're listening to this, and we will see y'all next Saturday.
We will see you then. You won't see us, but we'll talk to you then.
Talk to you. You might be seeing a picture of us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
See ya.
See ya.